we love our westerns in Texas, but this isn't totally a western. You know, it is in setting, right? But it it's so much deeper, and there's so many themes and so many things going on. So it's interesting to try and categorize this one because it really sort of defies it, doesn't it?
Maybe, I guess so. I mean, I didn't set out thinking conceptually about it, like, oh, I want to make this kind of story, and I'm just using the Western genre to tell something else. I really, once I realized that this story of this woman, unusually independent and stubborn, strong-willed woman, it was going to be set in North America on the frontier, on the Western frontier in the 19th century, because that, created more tension or more obstacles for her, in a society that's kind of lawless and dominated by a few powerful, unscrupulous, and violent men. I thought, well, that's going to give her more of a challenge. Once I realized that, I was like, okay, well, I want to make a Western like the ones I grew up watching that I really like, the best of the classic Westerns. So although it's unusual to have a woman like her be at the center of the story and to stay with her throughout, even when her partner goes off to war and so forth, and even to have two leads who don't have English as their first language, who are not Anglo-Saxons, like what you usually see, and for leads in Westerns, it's still, the idea was to make a movie that looked and felt very much like a classic Western. You're not really that aware of or thinking, hopefully, about how the camera sees the landscapes and the people, but you're just seeing them. You feel like you're there, and the details of the saloon, the interiors, the architecture, the clothes, the vocabulary, the slang, everything, the weapons, the horsemanship, everything is historically as correct as we could make it.
Hmm. And it was fascinating to watch. I mean, that must have been a whole lot of work to get that look and feel just right, which you absolutely did. But of course, the you grew up watching these things, so it's kind of in your DNA, right?
Yeah, and also horses. I grew up, I was 3 or 4 when I was already riding horses, and I've always liked them, being around them. And as a little kid, I imagined that because kids give free range to their imagination. They don't separate themselves in terms of artists or non-artists. They don't culturally or, racially or in any other way limit themselves. When I was a little kid, I would imagine I was a gaucho or a cowboy or an explorer or even a, Native American warrior. I mean, there's no limit to the possibilities when you're a kid, when you're thinking. And hopefully, if you're telling movie stories, you don't limit yourself either, and you really go there. And I enjoyed the process. Together with our team, we did months and months and months of research. Photographs of the period in terms of buildings, clothes, what people looked like, men and women, miners, cowboys, all kinds of stuff. And it was really fun to do that research.
Absolutely. And your performance is fantastic as always. But Vicky, my goodness, you had to have the right one for this. And how did you know? I mean, of course she's been great, in everything, but how did you know that she was the perfect lead for this?
Well, just based on her previous work, I mean,
Mhm.
maybe some of your viewers will have seen The Phantom Thread, or I don't know if you've seen Corsage, but
Mhm.
other things she's done. There's always something going on. She has a very strong screen presence and interior life that comes through. She's able to transmit, many layers of emotion and thought, even in silence. And because of that, I thought, well, she is a performer that could really make the most of this character. And if you don't cast Vivian really well, there's a limit to how much what you can do, what the story can do. And when she said yes, we were really happy. I knew that we then had the chance to make a good movie with a strong woman at the center, an unusually strong woman, and as long as we surrounded her with, good actors and did our job well in terms of storytelling, that we had a real chance with her. So I was extremely happy that she was available and that she really liked the character, and she gave us a yes right away, and that got us going.
Absolutely. Well, you've had such an admirable career, and the thing is, you're able to wear many hats, and which is amazing. Of course, being an actor and writer and producer, but also a photographer and a painter, and writer and editor of your own press, which people look up to you in all kinds of ways, and they think that's what I want to do. So, what kind of advice do you give to someone that wants to travel down this path of the arts, which is not always easy, but can be done and done well, like you have.
I guess try to remember how you were as a little kid. Little kids, like I say, they don't separate themselves in terms of artists and non-artists. They just go for it, you know. And they're not afraid to make fools of themselves and play acting or, using their imagination. And I would say the same if you want to tell movie stories or write books or make paintings, take photographs, whatever you want to do creatively, don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself, to make mistakes. It's from making mistakes that you learn how to improve what you're doing or what you're trying to communicate.
I love that. Now, you may or may not be familiar with my co-host Drew Pearson. He's one of our great Dallas Cowboys, and in American football, he caught the
Oh yeah.
Hail Mary, which of course, we now know as a pop culture term. But he wanted me to make sure that I asked you your Hail Mary moment, which is that moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
Oh, many. I think every time you say yes to a challenge to go to work, it's one of those. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes you need a little encouragement from other people when you don't really believe in yourself. Whether it's, I don't know, in terms of movies, there's been numerous cases. I remember when Pete Farrelly said, "Oh, I'd like you to play Tony Lip in Green Book." I thought, well, why don't you get someone else? I don't think I'm the right guy for that. And he said, "No, I'm convinced you are." And I really enjoyed that. And I learned a lot, and it was a great experience. Or Lord of the Rings, I hadn't read those books, and it was kind of, I came to it late. They'd already started shooting, and I said, I don't think I'm going to contribute to this. I don't think it's the right thing. And it was my son who said, no, it's a great story. You should do it. He was 11 at the time, and he was right. So, and that, obviously we didn't know it was going to be that successful, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy had such resonance and popularity that for any of us involved in that, we got new opportunities. Without the success of that trilogy, I wouldn't have probably got to work with David Cronenberg on History of Violence and other stories. And so you got to be lucky too, but it's important to be ready for a lucky break. In other words, like say you want to be a director, you want to make movies, but nobody's giving you the money to shoot. Get your iPhone, get some people together, write a story, and make your movie. Whether it's shown in a movie theater or not, you're practicing your skills. It's like, let's say you're a football player and you've never been in a game, but you're on the team and you practice every day, and suddenly somebody gets injured and they call you up. And if you haven't been practicing, you've just been sitting around moping about the fact that you don't get a chance, you're not going to make the most of that lucky break. But if you've been practicing, you might.
Yeah, well said. Now, of course, I know you have great memories from every single set, and I know there's so many for this, but there's so much writing on you, and of course, there's all kinds of pressure to this, but of course, you have to enjoy it as well. Was there a certain memory that you always kept with you, and is there something you kept in mind that kind of kept you on the right path of this vision?
I think it's just the thing that drew me to being in the movies in the first place, or being part of movie storytelling, which is the team aspect of telling movie stories. You know, as a director, even if I have a clear idea of what I want to do each day, there's moments where there's obstacles. I mean, movie making is about solving little problems and big problems every day, unexpected obstacles stand in your way to getting the day's work done. And you can solve those problems a lot easier if you have a team that you rely on and that relies on you. If you make it clear from the beginning, and this is what I've learned from the good directors, that a good idea can come from anywhere. And, if you're struggling, ask for help. Try to work together and to solve those problems. So that's what I try to do. That's what
Yeah,
I've
well, you certainly did it. The film turned out fantastic, and we can't wait for everybody else to check it out. Of course, everyone loved it here at Dallas International Film Festival, and we can't wait for the rest of the world to see it. We really appreciate your time and the great answers, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. Did you see the movie at the festival?
I did, yes, and then saw it again at home last night. But it was so great to be able to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. What was the audience like for that?
Oh,
What kind
the
of audience?
audience is great. Tom was in the audience, and he could tell you it was they were really into it, which is great.
That's
It's
great.
well received. Mhm.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Viggo. We'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Okay, bye bye.